Transformation in 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone. This is a reading for whoever, whenever, wherever. We are, stepping in late tonight. Felt the call to ask because we need some peace, right? We need some peace of mind. We need some peace of spirit. We need some peace in the world, don't we? So I was pulling decks out for this, and it's a lot of oracle decks. I'll probably clarify with some tarot, but we're going to dig in here. I want to wish all of you love, light, peace, and harmony in your lives. Let's take a deep breath. I heard there's so much I want to say. I heard let the cards say it. And we start with number 46. Now look at this. It's like there's a lot up in the air. There's a lot of hot air balloons, a lot of masks, mischief. There's like a mischievousness about this card. What does it say? It says putting the pieces together, coming to conclusions. Can we see that? To the question of your life, you are the answer. And to the problems of your life, you are the solution. Joke or dare. A young woman sits on a bridge, a physical and metaphysical connecting point between here and there. Her identity is initially concealed, not only to us, but also to herself. She is, in essence, finding her true self. She reaches out to gather the pieces of a puzzle, and with each one finds clues and discoveries more about herself. Each of us attempts to make sense of our place as we search for connections and relationships with each other. Gradually, despite failures and experimentation along the way, an image starts to take form. Increasing clarity manifests itself in the initial confusion. The process is self-reinforcing and often becomes easier and accelerates as more pieces are added, each finding their corresponding place. Eventually, a point is reached where everything comes into focus and starts to make sense. And the universe is saying we don't have enough pieces right now. There's not enough pieces to the puzzle, to our puzzle, to what's going on, right? To the question of your life, you are the answer. To the problems of your life, you are the solution. So it does definitely point to an internal answer, right? An internal knowing within each of us. Where is that peace to be found? Well, within, right? Interesting. Just split this deck, and it was weird to, it was like one side was up and one side was down, and that doesn't usually happen. So it's almost that reinforcement of there are some things that can be seen and some things that just cannot. Ancestor spirits, guides, this is the Ray Vai Ching. Oh, feeling my eye go there. Wow. Work on what has been spoiled. Gate 18. It says the vigilance and determination to uphold and defend basic and fundamental human rights. Dissatisfaction fuels the lifelong process of correcting and improving. Line 6, Buddhahood. Line 5, therapy. Line 4, the incompetent. Line 3, the zealot. Line 2, terminal disease. Line 1, conservatism. Correction, essential learning. I'm just going to hold that up for a second, screenshot it if you want, because there's a lot of information on that card. Work on what has been spoiled, the vigilant determination to uphold and defend basic and fundamental human rights. And I think that that's where a lot of these types of conflicts come into play, both internal and external. we feel is right. If both sides feel righteous in an argument, if both sides feel righteous up to their point, right, then there's little backing down, because there is no conceding that something might be wrong, and no side is seeing either side's point, right? The Buddhahood is almost like getting to that point of that laughing Buddha, right? I just actually said this to my mom, and I say I hear often, sometimes it's like that detachment, that is it just good old Buddhist detachment, where we observe but are unaffected, don't allow it to come into the internal self, the internal knowing, right? Or is it apathy? And I think that the difference is indignance, right? When we're feeling apathetic, there is a measure of indignance. So it isn't completely like not caring at all. There's a, apathy has with it this sense of like, disgust or pushback, resistance to, something in there. And whereas detachment, Buddhist detachment, enlightenment is very lifted. It's very, completely, not to say non-effective, but we are the ones who are in charge of ourselves, right? We are the answer to our question. We are the solution to our own problem, each of us individually. And also internally knowing, right? Line 5 therapy, really understanding these things is what gets us to that point, working through them, acknowledging them. If you're feeling frustration, go ahead and feel the frustration. You don't need to act. You don't need to react. You don't need to respond, but definitely acknowledging that it's there allows it to have its place and allows you to deal with it, us to deal with it, right? That's what therapy does. That's how it works things out. Physical therapy, parts that are sore or hurt or injured, and we have to slowly work them back up into their healthy state. We don't expect from somebody who's got, say, like a broken arm to be able to like lift things up over their head or even run a vacuum cleaner or sweep the floor, right? We see that as a point that needs to be healed, and allow that to be healed, and know that it's going to take time to work that arm back up into its natural healthy state, right? Well, we should also consider that for ourselves emotionally, for ourselves spiritually, for ourselves mentally, right? Those same types of things. If we need to have something gently be worked through until it gets to that healthy state, we do that by acknowledging it, not by allowing it to sit and wither, right? To atrophy away. We have to build that space back up through that therapy. It's like the incompetent, because things that aren't capable of doing something, right? And knowing what we are capable of. What is that? It's coming to mind right now, the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? And it's like, even if that's just for a little bit at a time, even if that's understanding like what we are capable of and what we aren't capable of, and sometimes that incompetence is because we don't have the knowledge, right? Or because we believe we have the knowledge, the side of right, but we're missing some of the information. Again, those pieces coming together to bring it all back in. The zealot thinking that we know everything. One thing that's really interesting that's been coming to mind and to me a lot is about like proselytizing or pushing an agenda, or even advertising, right? Showing things the way that they're supposed to be. I'm doing this for a long time. This channel has a lot of videos on it. My other channel has a lot of videos on it. I've produced a lot of things. But in the same right, I feel that if people are interested in those things, if this is a reading for you, you'll come to it. It'll come to you, and eventually it'll get to where it needs to go. And if that's to 6 people, that's 6 people. If that's to 500 people, 1,000 people, however many people is supposed to reach, that's how many it's supposed to reach. And that's by them coming to it, by seeing that it's available out there. And I think that that's part of the resistance and the apathy that we were talking about a little while ago. The zealot, like pushing their agenda, pushing ideas, pushing their belief structures, right? People who do that, and it's met with resistance and apathy, because there's an indignance that it comes with that. Like, people don't want things pushed on them. You don't want anything pushed on you. I don't want anything pushed on me. And I think that there's this idea of force here, right? Like that someone might is right. Well, not always. And that's the part of those things. And what it digresses into is terminal disease of the mind, body, and spirit, right? And we've had that experience on a global scale recently. Every one of us was affected by it. And every one of us is affected by the things that are happening now, even if it's not happening right in your neighborhood or right in your daily atmosphere. It is affecting your economy. It's affecting your emotional self. It's affecting how things are run and what we are and aren't allowed to do, where we are and aren't allowed to go. It's affecting all of us, and it will continue to affect us, right? Because and it becomes until it is addressed, right? If we do not acknowledge it, and where we would think that we know what's going on, but we're not getting all of the information, we're acting before then, right? It becomes a terminal disease, dis-ease within us. And then it comes down to conservatism, and it's like that idea of like holding back to the point where it is toxic, right? Where it turns back in on itself, like holding on too tightly. Conserving is like kind of in some senses it's very good, and it's important to know how to do that, so that you can meet the longevity requirements of things. But at the same time, sometimes it's detrimental, right? Because it holds back. It can cause there to be not enough. It's a lack mentality in reality, right? That traditionalism is good for us. It keeps us in a certain kind of structure, but in the same way it keeps us held back. And that's why correction, essential learning, something has to come through here for this gateway to open. And on the bottom, it says ambition, the drive to rise up. It's the marrying the maiden, interaction in its mundane and social context, but also in one's mystical and cosmic relationships. Transformation is possible through the mastering of instincts. And again, that idea of response, not reaction, right? Line 6, selectivity. Line 5, magnanimity. Line 4, enlightenment and darkenment. Ooh, endarkenment. Diving into that shadow, very important, especially with the marrying of the maiden, that physical feminine self, right? Line 3, covert interaction. Line 2, discretion. Line 1, influence, right? Ambition to rise up. So our influences are drive our ambition, and again, that discernment and discretion, what is at our discretion. Covert interaction. Ooh, how do we interact? How are we interacting both like in the enlightenment plane, like, right, what can be seen and how, what we our ideals are, but also what isn't seen, what is that underlying structure in the shadow, right? Ooh, and that, how does that rule us and rule things? We're gonna get the tarot now. Interesting. I'm just gonna put that right over here. That's your spirits, guys. What would you like for us to know? What would you like for us to know and see in this situation, please? We get the Queen of Wands in the reverse. We get the Ten of Swords in the upright. The Hanged Man. It says self-respect for the Queen of Wands in reverse. Self-respect, introverted, confident, selfishness, jealousy, insecurity, narrow-mindedness, and deceit, right? And again, that the feminine aspect, the discernment to understand why we're running toward the ambitions that we're running towards is how I'm hearing this. And then we've got the Ten of Swords that says painful endings, ruin, deep wounds, betrayal, loss, crisis, failure, collapse, and defeat. And it's almost saying, you know, this like narrow-mindedness brought over through insecurities, like when we're driven by insecurities, when decision making is done based on fear and that feeling of being insecure, and like again that forcefulness, right? What it does is it's selfish, and it pushes a specific agenda through fear, and it turns to like painful endings, right? Deep wounds. This is like talking about the ending of that failure and defeat here coming through. And then we get the Hanged Man. Pause, surrender, letting go, a new perspective, enlightenment, acceptance, deep insight, sacrifice, change, and release. You know, it's almost like someone's overconfident causes something to come to a complete end, and then there has to be like a time of forced stop, right? For it to be able to come into its new form. Something has to see something differently. And again, that therapy, right? 3 more, please. What do we have here? Now we have the 8 of Cups in the reverse. We have the 10 of Pentacles, 10 over 10, and the train. 1 more, please, Spirit. 1 more. We're just going to do 6 today. 4 of Wands, nice. And on the bottom, the Knight of Pentacles, the overarching energy. Slow and steady wins the race. Hard work, productivity, routine, responsibility. Slow and steady, financial growth, achievement, and good investment, right? And it's almost like there's like this, if someone thought somebody was going to emotionally abandon something because of their overzealousness, because of like some kind of overconfidence that was happening, again with that selfishness and the narrow-minded and the deceit, it says trying one more time, indecision, aimless drifting, avoidance, fear of change, fear of loss, clinging to the past, right? And that's what again, this indignance and the apathy towards like not caring about the results of something or how it affects others, right? As long as like what gets done, and the way that this person or mindset entity thing sees it, right? And it's avoidance, and it's because of fear of change. And again, that's when the conservatism turns into confinement, right? When it keeps the growth from happening, and it goes from atrophy into entropy, right? Where things are just like coming apart and then completely dissolving. And that's where you get this 10 of Swords and the 10 of Pentacles. And this talks about like long-term betrayals, things that have happened over and over and over and over, right? In the mental realm, in the word realm, like lies, unfulfilled promises, things happening that are completely screwed up. Wow, there's like bugs coming through here. Yeah, that's like a sign of, you know, like people listening in that maybe shouldn't, right? Over the 10 of Pentacles, tradition, family, inheritance, right? Legacy, wealth. It says wealth, financial security, family, inheritance, long-term success, stability, contribution, domestic, love, home, and attainment. And what's also very interesting is that what happens is, okay, 2 10s, 10 10, the completion coming through in both realms, right? Like, how does this affect? Well, it puts somebody on a standstill, right? We talk about the Hanged Man, that Piscean energy, what happens in the subconscious mind, hidden enemies, things happening behind the doors, the dream state, you know, being in touch with the emotional self, but so in touch with it that sometimes we're out of touch with the realistic that's happening in the real, you know, our wants and visions over what is in what our needs are over what is actually possible and what's actually happening. And that puts it in a standstill state where it needs to sit for a minute or a while until that new perspective can be realized, can be envisioned. And it's over the 4 of Wands. Again, this talks about home, family, establishments, right? The people around us and where our success and stability lies. It says celebration, joy, harmony, engagement, home, reunions, community, domestic, happiness, creativity, freedom, and marriage. Okay, so it's like coming out of this slow and steady, coming to that point, but having to get there first. And again, that pause, that long pause. Use the tea leaf. Take first. I opened it. It says star, great, guaranteed success, financial gain, usually coming from something you did in the past. It's almost like, you know, there's going to be somewhat of a payoff here. There's going to be somewhat of a, you know, a monetary exchange. Where does this legacy go? Where does the money, where does the money lie really? And how do we rebuild something new, a new establishment out of this? In a way that is beneficial for all of us. Looks, again, celebration. There's like something good to look forward to, and that's good to hear. Really, time to go out and have fun. Look twice. I think that it's also saying that you know, this is someone is going out of your life for the end of a situation. Can you please tell us about this specifically, Ten of Swords, please? The owl, good advice from a wise person. Look at that on that Ten of Swords. Information coming through. And again, it is the mental realm, right? It says you've endured something painful and have multiple wounds as a result. It's going to take time to heal. We can't change the past, but we can certainly play a role in our future. Ten of Swords marks the end of your ordeal. Things can only go up from here. Put the past behind you and start moving forward, because the light is ahead. And so it's basically reminding us that to leave the past in the past. Right. And I feel like this energy is coming again from a space that can't do that, right? That's having a hard time doing that. Can you please tell us about this Queen of Wands in reverse and Eight of Cups? Look, time to get out of a situation. That's twice. It says something will, someone or something will be going out of your life, the end of a situation. And then it says time to get out of a situation. I heard changing of the guard, and gosh, I hope that's the way that I'm hoping it will be. I think we're all feeling that way right now, right? Pleasure with a close friend. Take care. There will be a loss of material wealth. And again, with the Ten of Pentacles out here. And talking about friends, it says you've been blessed with wealth and abundance, feeling financially secure. Trust that because of your success and accomplishments, you will always have what you want and need. The foundations for your future will be paved with sustainability. Feed that compulsion to be charitable with others, being charitable with others. There it goes. All right, Lion. Time to act. All right, can you please tell me about this Hanged Man specifically? What is this Hanged Man about? We get Mules. Someone is extremely stubborn and unwilling to change. And again, that's where the Hangman energy comes through. That being stuck at this point and needing to see something from a different perspective. For stop, sometimes it's confinement, right? Against the will of the person or a situation that's being held up. And it comes after the devil, right? It comes after it comes after justice. It's like the justice happens, the justice occurs, and then it gets put in this stalemate stuck point, so that whatever needed to occur from the justice being rebalanced can happen, right? Someone is extremely stubborn. I guess however stubborn they are is however long it will take, and it says too much concern with sensual matters. And that has to do with also how we conduct ourselves in the outright, and with the Queen of Wands energy being in the reverse, being showy, overconfident, relying on prowess or attractiveness, or being, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, charming, but in a saccharine kind of way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. And look, it says someone working against you behind your back. Again, that came out with this Piscean hidden enemies kind of energy here. So we need to be mindful of that. Feather, someone is undependable and insincere. And I think in this situation, we understand that. And again, that's why there's this halt put on things here, and slowly and steadily working through it, to rebuild the home, the celebration, the foundations of the thing, bringing it back into stable. I heard stable fixture. So take that how it resonates. Take all of this how it resonates. Live your love with all your being, with body, mind, and soul. Hide it no longer. Don't hide it from yourself nor from others. Don't withhold your most precious gift from yourself. Live your love. And again, sharing that with others here. Don't hide it from yourself. And don't hide it from others. If you feel a certain way about something, that's part, like, again, feeling the feelings your feelings feel. Because that's how you get from that point of being, in a space of feeling incompetent, of not being able to do that. We make those corrections, that essential learning, go back to that essential learning. And that's part of the therapy of like working our way through some things, right? And having the discretion of what it is that we're going to do next and where it is that we want to go and how much we're letting that affect us. Can I have one more of these, please? 2? Okay. The pain will not overcome you. Perhaps the pain has overcome you in the past. Now that you are looking it straight in the eye, you are becoming more whole with every breath you take. Thank you, Spirit. Yes. Confirmation, reinforcement of that, right? Bow down to the power which resides within you. Back to the beginning, you are the answer to your question. You are the solution to your problem, right? Deep down, you are of the power and of that power alone. You are neither that which you think nor that which you possess. Bow down to your divine power. So it isn't a matter of how much you have or don't have, right, in the material world, or the information, and that includes like the information. Wow, we have the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Pentacles, right? The power is within you to make the choices within yourself, and that goes for each and every one of us. And I think that's what it's talking about. The question we asked at the beginning of this reading was, we need to find peace. Help us find peace. Get to that peaceful place, right? Because when there's chaos all about us, we have to find that center within ourselves. I was called to like, stop, it's midnight right now. I'm doing this reading. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna put it out because we all need to do what we need to do. And I felt called like to bring us these messages right now. This is the Kuan Yin Oracle, the Mother Spirit, Goddess, Kuan Yin. Wow, Veil of Shadows. And again, that idea of the endarkenment, right? Enlightenment and endarkenment, and understanding the benefit and necessity of shadow work and the integration of the light and the shadow at the same time. Wow, this is number 43. A lotus blossom blooms with deep, rich mud into which she plunges her roots and draws great nourishment. From this mud, made of water and earth, growth happens and great beauty is revealed. Your soul lotus thrives through depth of emotion and aliveness of your body, into which she can plant herself and unfold as the lotus of light. Wow, and again, the power lies within you. Right, the unfoldment. Your soul lotus is blooming, just like a plant that outgrows the pot in which it has been planted and requires more soil to spread its roots and continue growing. Your soul lotus needs some more mud and some more water and earth energy so that it can grow and shine. In your spiritual worlds, all things serve. Everything, including our darker emotions and parts of our body that we may not think acceptable. They're actually good nourishment for our soul. The soul craves to love and be in love with all parts of you. Just like the passionate divine lover, it wants to hold nothing back and become completely spiritually intimate with all aspects in all parts of you, whether you have thought they were lovable or not. This can be challenging because it feels extremely uncomfortable to visit and consciously engage with those aspects of our personality and our bodies that we have yet to really love and accept. Yet, this is what you are guided to embrace now. This process may start by taking a class or engaging in a physical practice that honors the shadow part of you. If you have considered yourself an introverted person, it might begin to honor this counter side of you, that part that needs community and people in order to shine. If you consider yourself a quiet person, you might need to explore how you find joy through sound, music, and energy, for example. If you consider yourself a passionate person, you could benefit from finding that part of you that is peaceful and content in the moment with things exactly as they are now. This interplay isn't about saying who you are is not enough. It is about acknowledging that you are a thing that you believe you are not, and finding a way to live with it, consciousness and love. It is about delving into the parts of you that have been hidden in a veil of shadows and are now becoming ready to be revealed and lived as a part of the beautiful and whole being that you in truth are. In particular, this oracle asks you to look where you can nourish your emotional and physical life with more focus, perhaps through art, creativity, journaling your dreams, creating collages, or engaging in dance or other forms of movement. Your spirit needs it to thrive at this time. Sit with your journal and write down 5 things that you admire in another, but do not believe you are or have within you. And then do the same 5 things you dislike, in another, but cannot recognize in yourself. Say, through the grace of Kuan Yin and with the healing power of nourishing myself into greater soul light now, show me how I can claim these parts of self and live with them consciousness and in love. Take a moment to imagine how beautiful light the parts of you that you don't see in yourself could be given an opportunity and begin to grow. An example might be that if you love the skill that you see in another, you could commit to trying out some classes to see where your own hidden talents lie. Take another moment to imagine how the dark parts of you see and dislike in others could be recognized and forgiven in yourself and possibly turned into more conscious expressions. An example of this might be the rage could be turned into a healthy anger that sets loving, firm boundaries. Acknowledge your courage, and in doing this work, and take a moment to give thanks for your own efforts and the divine grace that will assist you on the journey to greater self-embodiment. I pray to Kuan Yin, beloved spiritual mother, please help me be fearless in the veil of shadows. Realizing that I am just growing in self-awareness, and whatever has grown ugly through lack of love will gleam like a polished jewel through my attention, willingness to love and accept all parts of me, and my divinely inspired creativity in integrating this part of me into my life with more consciousness. Om Mani Padme Hum. May all parts of me be blessed. Om Pat Mani Padme Hum. Wow. That integration of the self. Wow, that comes fully back around to like bow down the power that resides within you. Live your love with all your being. And now that you're looking that pain straight in the eye, you are becoming more whole with every breath. Every part is like moving that right through us. And again, that having the grace and audacity simultaneously to look at those parts of yourself that you love, or those parts of someone else that you admire that maybe you don't see in yourself, or maybe that you see in yourself and you see lacking in another, right? Or vice versa, those things that you don't like, those things that irk you. And again, take that on a 3311. Take that on all scales. Scale it up in your personal life, people around you, right? Maybe in a contextual environment, maybe somebody who thinks or sees things from the opposite side of the fence, maybe seeing something from a different perspective, right? And really allowing those things so that we can get back to that center and get to discernment. Again, visualizing these things in our minds, going through the thought process of them. We don't have to believe every thought we have. We don't have to commit to every conclusion we come to. We don't have to react or even respond to the ways that we feel. It's about allowing those processes to happen, acknowledging those feelings and those thoughts, and so that we can see and integrate them. And that's part of having the therapy and coming to the Buddhist like detachment as opposed to the indignant apathy, right? Okay. I hope that was helpful. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that it brought you some peace of mind. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for remembering to hit like and subscribe. And thank you for coming back and seeing us again next time. I'm wishing you all love, light, and peace. Bye.
Transformation in 3, 2, 1.